And I think for a lot of people who are in dentistry or medicine, they can't imagine taking these risks of investing in this building or building like this 25-op practice. You're just betting on yourself, and given enough time and your work performance, you're going to win.
I was willing to do the work, and I wanted to make a good decision. It wasn't like trying to get out of the chair so that I can make more money or do this. It was sort of like, how can we make this work the best?
I think sometimes when you're in this, you're a leader, you're owner of a business, you feel so lonely, like no one can solve this. And yet you go to coaching, one, you're learning some content, but two, you're with a group of peers who are sort of facing the same issues that you are.
I used to feel like I had all these ideas and I never did anything. Now I don't feel that way. It took me 20 years to figure that out.
All right, here we are, another Private Practice Playbook podcast. Today's is a real treat for me. I was joking around with this guest, suggesting that they should have been my first guest because they've been wonderful friends and clients for a long time, and just super thrilled to have them on. So everyone is in for a treat. They were nice enough to take their time to join us. So Dr. Robert Lalor and Mary John Lalor, welcome.
Thanks for having us, Jay.
Man, what a treat. What a treat. I know they like these podcasts to be about 45 minutes, and so I'll do my best to be sensitive to y'all's time, but there's a lot we could obviously talk about. I think we're at 21, in full disclosure, we've known each other for 21 years or something like that.
Yes.
So it's been I think a good long relationship, and I've seen you guys grow and you've seen me grow, and so our families have kind of grown up, right? And we've been through all that stuff together. So anyway, so it's a treat to have you guys on. So both dentists, so you've got the we work together, we're married thing going on. So let's go back to the beginning. So can we talk about, Bob, this was originally your dad's practice, Robert T. Lalor, Doc. And so take us to the beginning. So you grew up the kid of a dentist?
So my dad was a small-time dentist farmer. He liked farming. He had hobbies. He was into his hobbies. So dentistry provided a life that he wanted, and that was living on a farm. And at one time he was flying planes and various hobbies that he enjoyed. And but mostly I grew up on a farm, but my father was a practicing dentist. So we milk cows, but he would practice.
That's crazy, right? I mean, and I think, it's pretty cool. The dentistry funded his side endeavors.
Yeah, definitely. He was a passion project type of guy.
And so what was the moment where you decided that you wanted to follow in his footsteps or do the same thing professionally?
I don't know if there was a point, but I went to college. I was planning on going into dentistry when I went to college. So somewhere along there, I thought that might be a good idea. When I graduated college, went to dental school, and then there was still a question if I was going to come home with him or not. But I ended up doing that, and eventually a couple years later we were married, and the practice was flourishing, and I was very much a dentist.
Mary, was Bob the golden child? Was Bob
How much time do we have, Jay?
So he was like the light of his eye, right? I mean,
he's the only son as well. It's like a double whammy of following in your father's footsteps and being the only
awesome.
Son. Was definitely
something. I love it, right? I mean, it's had to be his ultimate success in a way, right? That occurred. Mary, how about you? So when did you decide you didn't have family members that were dentists, did you?
No, not at all. I really decided because I had a cavity in college and I went to a dentist, and she's like, you should think about being a dentist. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. So that's how I actually got into it.
I feel like there's more to that story, Mary.
Well, a little bit too. And then, so I thought about it. I was like, I don't know. And this is a true story. There's this guy who was my bio class, and he was one of these, I am not insulting fraternity brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of these classic frat bros. Yep. And he was going to go to dental school. And I remember him saying, man, in 4 years, I'm going to be driving a Grand Jeep Cherokee because I'm going to be a dentist.
great. He was
And I was
dropping
taking
by
the
on
old bus to college at this point. So I was like, you know what? I can be
I
a
love
dentist
that.
too. So I do
I
give him
love it.
credit. We went on to actually share a house later in dental school, we became really good friends. But those words that sort of, for me, who was like kind of, I was always good in school, but directionless and just thinking, well, if he can do it, I can totally do it. Cause, I did think I was a little smarter than him. So that is really what propelled me, Jay.
How big of a deal was that for your parents that you were gonna do that?
I think it's a pretty big deal. My parents, to their credit, I mean, I'm Indian, so there's, we always joke that we're the only Indian family that are not full of like medical doctors.
Mm,
But my dad was very good. He just gave me the advice, career advice. He's not a man of a lot of words, but he said, get a career, not a job.
yeah,
And that's kind of all he left it at.
I love that. Bob, you come back, you join your dad's practice, and, so how long were you there before Mary came in?
My dad and I practiced together in his original like building that he was in when I was like
Mm.
growing up, for 2 years, 2.5 years maybe. And then we built like a 10 operatory practice, moved down the road a bit. And we were practicing in that another few years before Mary joined us.
Whose idea was it to expand? Did he
We were confined. There was
Yeah,
only 5 rooms,
right.
so we were both on board. I will give my father a lot of credit. He recognized that he wasn't ready to retire,
Mm,
and that we needed to double down on the practice if we were both going to be able to continue to work. So we
yeah.
needed to add space and stuff. And he signed the first loan that, he was the one that was guaranteeing the loan more as much or more than I was in terms of, he had something to lose. I
It's
I
a
didn't have anything to lose. I only had time to put in. So
It is interesting to reflect on that commitment that he made, that investment for you, right?
yeah.
Which is kinda it was kinda cool, actually.
Yeah. And his biggest probably investment ever at that point.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like
So, yeah, for sure, moving from 4 to 10. Okay, so and then you got married after that, or were you married before?
We were married before you
oh
guys
yeah, yeah,
moved. Yeah,
yeah.
we were
Okay,
married before. I worked at a different practice in town. Uh,
okay.
One, I mean, we were both brand new, and I didn't think it was a great idea to work with my new husband and new father-in-law.
Yeah,
That
sure.
was one. And number two is really small, so I don't think they physically could even fit me in. So I
Yeah.
worked at a different practice
So,
across.
to give everybody a little perspective, I have a lot of married couples, and I give you guys a lot of credit for just the way in which you conduct yourselves. And it's really, I know in every marriage there's differences of opinions, but they're really one of the best I've ever seen at maybe not letting everybody see that and allowing each other to do what they're really good at. So it's a pretty unique, I think, situation that you guys have really, and I know that behind the scenes, I'm sure there's more conflict than you let, but you get a lot of credit for, it's an impressive front that is, and I think it's authentic, obviously, but do you guys work at that? Like, has that been something that you knew could be a problem, and you have conversations? Do you talk about that? I'm curious, like, how have you weathered the storm, right? You guys have been married, what, 23 years or something like that?
So no, 23 is right. If I went back in time, I would say early on the strategy was work at different offices.
Yep.
Um, Later when we came together, the strategy was like, well, when you're at the office, you're working. We're not really like looking over each other's shoulder. And we were honestly, so I was like the dentist, and she like I would get behind, she would come numb up my patients or steal take a patient from me to keep me on
Mhm.
track, that type of thing
Yeah.
in a good way. And very synergistic. I would say when it was just the three of us, myself, Mary, and my dad, it was great synergy in there. Like
Wow.
patients were jumping around. I would say, and
That's
there
a
was
beautiful
very
that's a beautiful thing, though, right? Because it really wasn't territorial, right?
not
No,
at all.
no, not
Yeah.
at all. Not at all.
It'd be
And
hard
I
to
will
put that
say,
trio back together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we were very, very productive. We were a very productive team. My father-in-law was a workhorse. He got to work, he worked. And so we had a great role model to emulate. And also little things like Bob and I never took the same lunch. We would stagger lunches so we could see more patients. We worked the day that he was off, I would work. The day I was off, he would work. So I always say we actually see each other more now than we did in the beginning, because when we got to work, we just worked. So there's not a lot of, I mean, there are days when I wouldn't even see him. I would see a glimpse of his golden aura walking into the
Yeah.
operatory to save patients' lives.
And
But other than that, it was pretty good.
and you kept your last name, right? So was that
I did.
I mean, that's a really, I don't know, was that strategic or was that
Uh, no, Jay, again, it's sheer laziness because there's a lot of paperwork to change your last name, to be quite honest. The license, the passport, the social security. I'm like, this just seems like a lot of paperwork.
yeah.
I don't really need to don't do it. And so it was not so much of a I am woman, hear me roar
Yeah.
stance. It was really pure laziness on my part. And
But
then also there were 3 Lailers in town.
but
My
it kind of
last name is
yeah, like I think it was probably a good decision, don't you? Like in a way, it's kind of wild to think about that. But obviously it has become more complex, right? You have grown dramatically. I want to give people a couple of numbers, right? So the Vestal practice, like the population of Vestal is 29,000 people, which is kind of crazy, right? And then, you have Endicott is 13,000 people. I mean, Horsehead is 6,000 people. You have an office in Syracuse, which is, I think, 600. DeWitt's 26,000. So it is interesting that. So can we talk a little bit about the markets you've chosen to be in? You're not in Manhattan. You're in Binghamton, and you're in these areas with not a lot of population and seeing hundreds and hundreds, thousands of patients every year. So do you have any thoughts on what you've learned about that and where maybe people misconceive that, maybe use it as an excuse that they're not doing well, but really,
My thought is around supply and demand, right?
Mhm.
So if we had hundreds of dentists in town, that would be a bigger challenge. But outside of our practices, I mean, we have competition. There's other dentists in town, but not, certainly it's not the place where every dentist goes when they graduate from dental school.
mm,
And to that end, I think it's been a big asset actually on the maintaining the practice side. On the recruiting doctor side, it's been a challenge, but we've worked to overcome that. But on the competition and in terms of like if I was opening a practice in Manhattan tomorrow, that would be a different story as far as how much money I'd have to spend and the effort I'd have to do to go get patients versus, here we have the benefit of hindsight, but we also have the benefit of, my father's career plus my career, 25 plus years since I joined him of like building a practice and having, treating a lot of patients and having them pleased and sending their friends back and so on. And you get a big snowball effect of that, which has really certainly helped.
I also think when we first started, actually one of our doctors, we just saw her this weekend. She had moved to Albany, husband, da da da. And so she came in just to hang out. And she said, oh, she'd worked with us for a couple years before she moved. And she was like, my God, first of all, if anyone's listening in Albany, take that market. It's such a great market.
yeah.
She said, after working at Lalor, I can't believe how lazy dentists are.
Mm,
Right. So I think part of our success in a small town is I think we are, I hate the word hustlers, but we're sort of hustlers in a market that's not known for being a hustling market. So we are open Fridays. She's like, I couldn't believe it. Everyone's done on Friday by 1. So we're open Fridays. These are these little things that I think most small town doctors tend not to do. We just do them.
yeah.
So because of that, we have a reputation and we just get patients in through the door. Like most people with emergencies actually would like to go on a dentist on a Friday afternoon. You know what I mean? So there's just a couple of little right. And I actually said, you really, you've learned so much. You should just go do this in Albany because I think you would do great. Like she's trying to get her team to
Yeah.
rally to do the things that she was so used to us doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think you guys have a patient first philosophy, right? I mean, which is really what drives all those decisions, not comfort first or right.
100%.
I mean, you've been able to overcome those things in a way. So for everybody listening, just to realize that, I think Mary, what you said is so true. You get a doctor in a great market who's just wants to close at 3 PM and won't go get an associate doctor to work those hours. The patient is the one that suffers. And I've watched you guys over the years. I mean, certainly as we've met and you face those things, I think your formula has been to knock out whatever that is, not to let it be. That's what I see, right? whatever the problem is, we're going to figure out a way to overcome it type attitude.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Which
I
I
will say
think,
that. I mean, again, we've done this for a while, so I would say with the same 7 problems every year. We just have to kind of
mm,
rotate through them, right?
yeah,
So doctor
sure.
recruiting and this and the other, but in terms of just actual patient flow, I don't want to simplify it. Of course, there's a lot of complexity to it, but it's kind of simple. And the success of being in a smallish town, I always when I talk to young doctors, for in the city, I always go, guys, I know it's not sexy to be in like a really small town, but you're going to do really well.
Hmm.
You should do like 3 things, right? Like
Yep.
open a Friday. No one's open on a Friday. Instantly, you're productive. So they're just these little things that you can do that I would just say, I mean, if I had you know, advice for anyone is who lives in a small town, yes, there are a lot of hurdles, but to be honest, they're overcomeable.
Hmm. Well, a Friday is 20. I always just, when I used to do the math, I was like, you take a day off, it's 20% of the week. So your business is down 20% out of the gate, right? Just
Right.
because everyone, I love that. We'll jump forward a little bit. Again, I've had the privilege of coaching you guys for 20 years, and we've had lots of conversations. And I would like to talk about what you think the importance, and a lot of those conversations have been about, what is also good for your general net worth, meaning during your working years to actually be financially stable, to make great investments. And I think that's been another area where you guys have excelled. In other words, Bob, and I think that was something that got your attention, and I think is always. And so, can we talk about that a little bit? And do you think that because I don't think that is a money focus. I think it is a good decision focus, right? I've seen it as that when the time comes to make the right decision, you're making the right decision for the patient, for your team, and for your finances, which might be going into debt for buying a building or whatever. So what do you think about what it was in your mind, versus what you see other people do and where they're hesitating?
Yeah. I think luckily, when we started and we started with you, we were not in a financial position, certainly that we are today. Right. And when we started out, we were both really well aligned as far as spending. We weren't,
Mhm.
Mary came, as first generation here.
Mhm.
My father did fine, but he was never into it for the money. He did
Yeah,
it like he enjoyed all
sure,
those toys and that kind of stuff, but it was not like he would treat patients for free all the time, you name it. So
sure.
money was not the driver. I liked, certainly I was attracted to being a dentist and stuff. I liked that you could make more money than, you know, digging a ditch or whatnot. I never was afraid of the work. I wasn't running away from dentistry either, I guess would be the thing. Like, I didn't try to make all these decisions so I didn't have to treat the patient or this or that. I think
Right.
I was willing to do the work and I wanted to make a good decision. And it wasn't like trying to get out of the chair so that I can make more money or do this. It was sort of like, how can we make this work the best?
Do you have a competitive nature?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that's part of the driving force?
Yeah. 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 100%. Right. But, so it's one of my top 5 strengths is
Mhm.
competition,
Yeah.
and by its very nature, I find myself driven to that. And honestly, the scorecard of money was more of what I was interested in than using the money to buy
Mm.
something. Right.
I
And
Yeah, I've seen that.
yeah, yeah. And so that's been helpful to me because the scorecard and then making a right decision with that money once we've made it has been sort of self satisfying, right? So
Sure.
you see the loop continue, and we were able to make some decisions early on, like when we went from 10 to 13, 13 to 20, we made some good decisions. You helped us along the way, but this is going back in, the early 2000s prior to 2008. We were making decisions and investing in the business, which was actually helpful versus investing in the market. And then the market
Yeah,
crashes. We would have been like,
sure.
oh, well, that was a mistake. And we luckily invested in the business. Now we had a 20 operatory practice. Somewhere in there, it was paid off relatively quickly. And we were like, okay, what's next? How can we get to the next one? And that type of thing. And actually, and even that was serendipitous too. We built a practice almost as a security because we were afraid after a flood that we could have been out of business,
Mm.
and how are we going to protect ourselves? And the protection was, let's build another practice. And only then did we recognize, oh, we still made money and we didn't practice there. And so then we were like, well, let's keep doing this, right? Let's make this better. Let's pay that off. Let's move down.
Yeah. Well, I want for everyone listening to think about that, when you grow up and your kids go play sports, right? It's an opportunity for them to express their competitive nature, which I'm sure people are trying to neuter in all kinds of different ways today, right? But like it is what it is, right? And then when you're in school, there's a competition. But I just want people to realize that for anyone out there who has a competitive nature, I think a big part of this, and I've certainly seen this with you guys and Bob in particular, we're going to get to you, Mary, about your competitiveness in a minute, but that's a healthy channeling of a competition that is aimed at the patient and the team and the community, right? And so I just want everyone to be encouraged that like you said, I don't think it's about the money, but I do think it's about allowing yourself to have a healthy competition that I've seen be very fruitful for lots and lots of people, right? Mary, do you have where does competition?
I do not have competition in my top 5. So it's kind of interesting. Perhaps that's a good thing, right? I think I'm more of a strategist, achiever
Okay.
type person.
Which is, go
I-
ahead.
Yeah, and I think there's some complementary styles here. I don't know if this would have worked well if we were both uber competitive, or both competitive, because I think perhaps there would have been more of conflict day to day, like who's going to be this, who's going to be that. But back to the original sort of question about, I think one of the things that has helped us in terms of making financial decisions is we always had a rainy day bank account,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
So you were
even
saving
though-
money consistently while
Yes.
continuing to invest and
Yes.
and living well below your means the
Yes.
entire time, which is
And
the right formula, right?
right. And that's something that we try and impress upon our young doctors and even team members, right? Lay low for the first 10 years. It seems like, I did not buy my Grand Jeep Cherokee J. Okay. Bought a used Nissan something as my first car. But there is an element of just like, hey, bank it away. And I think for a lot of people who are in dentistry or medicine, they can't imagine taking these risks of investing in this building or building like this 25 op practice. But it doesn't have to be risky if you can sort of use your other strengths of strategic, kind of this fiscal discipline. Then it's not a risk. It's just, you're just betting on yourself. And given enough time and your work performance, it's gonna win. You're gonna win.
How impactful, I know in the early years, I preached a lot about take the debt and pay it off, right? And can you talk about what paying things off well before you're supposed to, how that frees you up to be able to do the next one, right? I mean, I think that's a huge component.
I even at this very moment, I have debt on some things and I've just taken out some more debt on some things.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, like, just hold the discipline of playing it down. Cause it's, they continue to entice. Now that I have more money, right? There's more opportunities. People are coming to me, selling me things, that investments I can invest in.
Yes.
And it's the discipline of continuing to pay it down it almost feels increasingly challenging.
Yes.
Like, because there's more things that you could be tempted with.
Sure.
But that discipline has served us certainly very well. I remember when we bought you remember this, we talked about our first house. And I look back, man, we bought this house. We're still in the house. We've redone a bunch of it, but this house cost us $450K. And at that time, I looked at what we made that year that we bought the house, and it was like $257K or something.
Yeah.
So it was a big thing. And you were like, you'll be fine. You encouraged us to buy the house that we wanted. And the reality is, like, very quickly we made enough that we were well above that. But I was sort of surprised to see how little we were making when we bought this house.
Yeah.
So,
Well, some people, that's still a big number. So, I always tell this story that one of the first times you guys I think we did a private day in Philadelphia, and, I never forget it. You guys pulled up and you were both sweating profusely. And I said, what's, you guys okay? And you're like, well, the air conditioner was broken in the car. And I mean, that was the conversation, right? And I'm looking, and we spend the day looking at your finances. And I think at the end of the day, I was like, hey guys, you can go home and buy a new car. And that's what I mean, it was truly, you guys have that discipline, which is great, right? You probably
spending profusely, maybe a
I just thought that sounded good, Mary. No, you were clearly uncomfortable. How's
yeah,
that?
we were glowing. We were
Yes.
glowing.
Yes. It was just,
But yeah, I
I
mean,
thought you were nervous. Your car had no air conditioner, but I mean, but you're, and so I just want everyone to, so like, I think one of the things over the years that I certainly had to encourage you guys to bend some more of it, right? And to enjoy it more. And so let's kind of go fast forward. So you've been working these formulas, you're doing it together, you're raising 3 kids, right? Right. So you start out, your dad goes up. Let's give him kind of a picture of what the organization looks like as we sit here today. How many rooms how many operatories are you under? Is there construction going on? What is it? Give him a glimpse of whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah. Basically, what our formula has been is large practices, meaning a lot of operatories under one roof.
Yep.
And we didn't know it at the time, but we think it was, has been a great advantage to us as far as the young doctors today want mentoring. And so when you have multiple doctors in a building, you get automatic mentoring going on. Whoever's the youngest and whoever's the oldest, they're going to mentor one another, right? So it's been serendipitous that way. But theoretically, that's been our model. So we have, our largest GP practice right now is 36 chairs.
Mm-hmm.
We have some 24. We have one that we're just putting addition on, which will bring it to 24. We have another one that's at 13, will be 19 shortly. And we have a pediatric practice, which has 42, and an orthodontic practice. What's that?
That little experiment, right?
Yeah.
Let's try this,
Yeah.
Cool, let's put a dinosaur on this building, this house, and see what happens, right? It's pretty amazing what that thing's done.
Well, what I was about to say was we have an orthodontic practice that is on that same space. So in an adjacent, we built another building attached to it. So it's another 24. So that's like a 66 ops in that space. So a lot of parking. A lot of parking required.
So, I mean, obviously, I've been preaching that strategy to anyone that will listen. And why do you think it is that people think they should go get 3 little crappy locations, right? I mean,
Yes. I mean, that is the one piece of advice. And I think you gave it to us. You were like, hey, stretch the space. Because I remember there's a point where we were maybe you're like, just stretch the space. How much can you stretch the space? And so stretching the space that you're in, stretching the hours that you're in, that's big. And I think really a 24 op practice, to me, if I was going to say, hey guys, do this, that's like a sweet spot. And you're going to think, oh my God, we're never going to fill this. You're going to fill it.
yeah.
Right? You just have to give it some time, but you're going to fill it. But there's just little inefficiencies there. Like you just need one receptionist. You need one greeter versus 3 greeters. There's just built-in efficiencies of staffing, the doctors, you have an assistant that calls out, which everybody does. No one solved that formula yet. There's usually another 2 people that can sort of help. So there's just so many good things about that model, which you've always preached. And again, in a small town, dirt is cheaper and the opportunity to do that is better.
Yeah.
So
the patient, don't you think at the end of the day though, too, like, and I love you saying that about like the mentoring but the patient is the winner. If you follow that formula, that practice is going to be open and there's going to be availability and there's going to be services. And the other thing is, what about just the pure social proof aspect of size and energy? You bought a small office, which you needed to do, right? It was like, I messed with him. I said, I tried to get him to lowball the guy before the day before he closed. Bob was being too nice. And so, but like when you like, that was probably the closest practice to a normal practice, right? Because they just built bigger. And then when they went to build a new one, they went big, but you did buy one. So when you think about that experience, trying to create energy, and I'm assuming that was way more difficult than
Yeah.
Oh,
large
yeah.
practices.
Yeah. And I just always say for us, great lesson, expensive lesson, but great lesson learned. Is to stick with what works best for us.
That
Which,
lesson could be worth millions, if not billions of dollars. No. So it was a
could
cheap
be.
lesson probably at the end of the day, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And a good lesson to learn. A good lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Right. About
You could never get the energy going in that building the way it's going, and would you say that's true? So
100%. 100%. Getting a team, and maybe some people can do it better. I'm not saying, but for us, starting from scratch, day one, maybe one patient, hiring our team members, people that we like, I mean, we always focus on patients, but the team members are really, like our mission statement is to be the best team in town. And so for years, we've just said, hey, let's focus on the team. We get a really good team, then by default, that patient experience is going to be great. And so just getting the team that you want, the facility that you want, the carpet that you want, so helpful.
We had that the opportunity when we bought and sold that one practice, when we built up our new Syracuse practice. The commitment was that, hey, we're going to build Syracuse like we did the others, from patient one, from employee one. Night and day difference. And so that was a leap for us because it was far out of town. It was a pain,
yeah.
but it's so much more culturally aligned to where we are than the other. It's like, no question which wins. So that's been a great move for us, and continues to pay dividends. And I see
I
great.
love that. For years we've been talking about there are three major areas of focus, and one is your family, one is your team, and one is your patients. And no matter where you spend money in those three circles, where you invest time, energy, effort, I've always thought and I've seen, what do you think about that now in hindsight? 20, I've watched you guys do this for 20 plus years. What do you think I've seen you guys do that. How are you feeling about that? Just those guardrails, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a saying, like, do what you love with the people you love.
Mhm.
And part of that is really, we have some really good teammates that I get to enjoy every day, that, are doing something right now to hold down the fort, while we're on this podcast,
Yeah.
and have done it all day, and will do it all day tomorrow for us, that we've been blessed to have on the team and have given us so much. But at the same time, they're enjoying what they do, and they enjoy us. We collaborate well together. So we have really great people, and that's the only way you get here. But I don't want to pat ourselves on the back or whatever, but it's sort of like, we got that because we did the work over a long time with them to get here. It wasn't like, oh, we just hired them once, forgot about them, and they happen to be great. We put a lot of time and energy into them, and working side by side with them.
Culture is a priority, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it is the true flywheel, right?
Mhm.
And so the more you focus on culture, and every practice is going to have a culture. I mean, we have 6 different locations. They each have a slightly different culture. And sometimes one is like amazing. And then 2 years later, I'm like, what happened to this place? And you got to just, I was just a little dramatic,
Does
but
happen, yeah.
and so you just have to constantly revisit each location, what's going on here, who's leading here. And it's honestly usually never a patient or sometimes a doctor issue. It's usually a leadership issue, which is not to say like, oh, kick these people out, but just always paying attention to your leaders, what they're doing, making sure they feel safe coming to you with issues. And I think we tend to run a very collaborative environment, 80% of the time, and 20% of the time, just say, go do this. I'm telling you, it's going to work. Don't worry about it. Just go do this. So I think kind of building your team up that way, and it shows, and then they can sort of pass that on to the people under them. And, we don't know everyone like we know everyone, but we don't know everyone personally like we used to when we first started.
Mm.
Right. So you have to rely on the goodwill of the people sort of in between you and team member number, whatever,
And
X.
so how many total doctors, full, part-time, whatever, how many doctors are working in your organization currently?
Estimated around 40 or so doctors, give or take, at any moment, and about 350 employees.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of bodies.
But that was built organically, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think the thing everyone needs to understand is they didn't go from 20 to 300. it was always making financial sense for you, right? Those humans self-liquidate, they make money to pay for themselves. So, but it's an impressive number. So you've made some huge leaps, right? So can you share with me the catalyst or the moments, or, and in hindsight it might be easier, but clearly there's a drive for every dentist who comes out to just be a competent dentist. And do you think that journey just can capture a person and suck them into a head down lifestyle if they're not careful? And why you've certainly seen lots of people come into my organization, leave, and what do you think it was that got your eyes like to look past the mouth of the patient and to see a bigger picture?
It's a good question.
That is very
I'm not sure I have a perfect answer. I think, with me, actually, I would say I went through a journey, and if we looked at our first journey was become a really good dentist. I wanted to be the best dentist I could be, right? And
Yeah.
and even while I was still trying to do that, I started
I like that. The best you could be, not the best.
right. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I will say this.
Probably a good thing, right? Because some people think they're going to be the best, and like we still do. We know who the best dentist is? No. So that might
Well,
be
I would say when
one of the things.
when I started, I thought I was the best dentist, right? Like I was trying to be the best dentist. I will say now, with my breadth of knowledge, there are people that are better than me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that within my organization.
sure.
And I'm a pretty decent dentist. So the reality is we've gotten some great doctors that work for us. But at first I started trying to be the best dentist, and then as I was trying to do that, I recognized, hey, like I'm tapped out as far as I can go right now, but there's still demand. How are we going to meet the demand? Because we had, because as you said, we're looking at all three things. Oh, our employees want to grow and be the best person they can be. Well, they don't want to be like under Rose, who's been here from the beginning, running one office. But when we add another office, now we have room for a second person to be a leader at that office. Now we have an opportunity for other people below them to lead. Now we have an opportunity for this doctor to be the best for himself. So I think it's like once you head down this path, you got to keep growing a little bit to give opportunities to your best people. And you got to hold the standard and keep raising the bar. But at the same time, you could stagnate, but you would never it's not attractive to the type of person that you want in the organization.
But you some of your 40 doctors, you're feeding their desire to be a better doctor. So you've gone from trying to do it yourself to trying to help them achieve it, which I think is the thing people need to get. It's like the higher level of your contribution to society, right? I mean, the number of people you guys have mentored over the last 20 years, substantial.
I mean, that part's been kind of fun. I mean, it always, how can I say this? When you have someone who's talented, whether it's a doctor or a team member, they want a bigger future.
Yeah.
And so for our team members, we have the ability to give them that bigger future, right? Whether it's in comp or just responsibility. And I've always said the people who are really, really good, comp matters to them, but they really love responsibility. They really love, like, much like, we're a small town community. And for a lot of them, working here, running these practices is something that they could not conceive of. A lot of them are the breadwinners. So giving your talent some opportunity to shine is super important. For our doctors too, we have fantastic doctors. We have great talent. They also want a long runway. They want to see, like, can I do this? Can I do that? And we're also fully aware that some of our top talent may leave.
Sure.
And at some point, I think in this journey where, I hate to lose our talent, but at some point you have to understand that you can't hold people back.
Right.
If you really want to move to, San Diego and set up shop, all right, well, let's get the best of you while you're here. And then we kind of are very collaborative that way with our doctors.
So you're describing two moments in time where you become less competitive and more creative, which is so was there a moment, like, Bob, did you want to compete with those early associates? When do you think it hit you? Like, I don't need to compete with them. I need to make them better. Or do you still struggle with that?
No, I don't struggle with it at all now, but I did for a long time because it was sort of like I wanted to be the most productive in the office,
Yeah.
right? it was some point after we had more than one office.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like while I was still the only office, I wanted to be the big cheese in that office, and it drove my competitive nature. Once we had multiple offices,
Kind of like stepping in that clinical director role, not
yeah,
being the
yeah, there was something along the way that recognized like, and then also, to be honest, probably getting some candidates and doctors in there that were like better than I was at
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That like, like you're playing a new game. So
But I think that's the biggest challenge for anyone, listening to this. They just can't even fathom the idea. And I think a lot of times that first associate ends up being the victim of an unfair competition. It's like I subconsciously don't want the team to like you and the patients to like you. And I'm wondering why it didn't work out.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
for sure. And luckily our size helped us. There's a lot of things that were serendipitous. My father, like, tapering off and retiring left a vacuum of patients that need to be served. And so I couldn't see them all and mine. And so there was always excess patients and someone else could see them. And it was never a competition directly, like I'm going to beat you. We had a very collaborative environment, but at the same time, in the back of my head, I wanted to be the top dog. You know what I mean? Just my nature was that to be to win.
But that's a trap, right? So it's
Oh,
kind of like
100%. 100%.
so anyone listening to this, you got this trap of I'm just still trying to be the best dentist, which by the way, you let me know when that award comes out. I'll be really curious, right? Like it's an award that doesn't exist, by the way. And by the way, it's not the highest paid person, right? I mean, clearly the highest paid doctors are not the best clinicians. That's just a fallacy. So sometimes they're some of the lowest. And then, okay, so what about this commitment to being coached? I mean, we've gotten together 3 or 4 times a year for the last 20 years. And one of the things that I think is hilarious is that the way people like, and I get coached by people and, people's advice to me is like, well, what do you need a coach for? I'm like, that's the dumbest advice. So, but I'm sure you get that advice too, right? Like,
Mhm.
well, what do you need that for? I find that, don't you find that kind of funny? It tells you that they don't know the principle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I want to go back to that. How important, like, do you think getting out of the physical office, thinking about the business for a day or two, how important has that been to your success formula at the end of the day? I mean, and what do you see in people's misunderstanding about that process?
Actually, so one of the things we do is we do these presentations as kind of a recruitment event. And so we just put together a presentation. It's called like the 10 disciplines of success. And one of the disciplines is lifelong coaching,
Yeah,
right? So I just
awesome.
finished up the,
Oh, nice.
I don't know if we call it a PowerPoint anymore, a slide deck. As the
I don't know.
hipsters say. I don't know. Okay. The thing that goes on the screen.
Yes.
So I finished, and one of the disciplines is lifelong coaching. And we talked about that we've had a lifelong coach,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And even before we sort of got you, we had many consultants. And
Hmm.
so, but the importance of that is just what you just said. It's getting out of the office physically. And number 2, having time to just think, even on the trip to
Yeah.
the course, and really the
Sure.
time to kind of mull those ideas after you leave the course, right? And so just that is just so impactful. And life gets, hectic. You've got kids, you got a practice to run. So it is really just a discipline of 4 times a year, lifting your head up and being like, whoa, 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 where am I? Am I on track?
How did you develop, like, I think I have it and I see people that don't. I mean, so like I was at a seminar last week, right? I went to a seminar for a couple of days, Flint and I went, and it was on AI, right? And which I'm, have been a little confused about and I want to learn about. And so there's, if you took the entire experience, right? And you start judging it, there's never 100% of everything that's great. And I think this is an important thing for the coachable people, right?
Mhm.
Coachable people understand that it's not the 100% of everything being perfect. It's that I walked out of there with probably 5 really good things. And I'm going to focus my energy on those things. And I am not fixating on the terrible speaker that I listen to. I'm not fixated on and that's So what do you, I mean, don't you think that's part of what happens to people? They think they're supposed to be the judge, the jury, and everything. And they're so busy judging everything that they don't actually get the 3 or 4 great things that they need to do. What are your thoughts on how you process an event like that or anything?
My thought generally is, depending upon how much value I feel like I'm getting
Yeah.
out of the situation, but is like, where's my ROI? Is like, I just need one thing. I need something big, whether it be something big, something small, whatever. The bigger, obviously the bigger the idea, the more impact it may
Right.
have. Therefore, that one idea pays for the whole trip and the rest of the year. Or is it like, sometimes I'm like, you get 3 little things that add up to the equivalent of something big. So I just look for that every time. And I don't need 10 things. I just need 1, 2, 3.
Well, because 10 would mean you do nothing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mary, we can add something to that.
Yeah, I think you may have taught us that. You said, any course you go to, just grab 3 things. And sometimes, there are other seminars we go to, whether it's CE or this
Sure,
and
of
the other.
course.
The things that you actually find like, oh, I didn't really like that. I mean, that's a takeaway,
Oh, yeah.
right? That's a takeaway. You can be like, well, I hope we don't do that.
Right.
And
Oh,
then
for sure.
so you do. So you got to go back and look at that process and be like, wow, do we check in people that way? Even travel, like there's so many things you can learn from travel. Um, and so I just think that the responsibility is on you, the person attending, and a coach can only do so much. You just got to go home and do the work.
So let me ask you this, and I want to maybe tap into this, or I want people to understand this. Everyone is afraid to talk about money, right? So basically in society, because, it's probably be due to insecurities, or you see a lot of sort of posing, if you would. There's a lot of people acting like they have money, obviously, right? And so, but let me ask you this. So when you are sitting in something, do you take an idea and do you run the numbers on the idea? Because I do, right? I mean, and I think you do too. And that's like, I don't want an idea. I actually take the idea and I get a close enough number. Like maybe this is $1 million idea or $2 million idea. Do you do that same thing where?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm extrapolating like, oh, if we did this and we did 10 of these this year, that would do this type of thing. Yeah.
And I would encourage all of you to learn how to do that, right? You can't, and you've got another person sitting right next to you who's just coming up with the 3 reasons why they can't do it, which is a fascinating situation. So I was thinking about this the other day, change in your organization. So, there's a lot of different comments and thoughts about when you walk into an organization and you try to create change, and there's this sort of immune response sometimes, like there's just an automatic negative. When you look at what change you've been able to make, was there harder things? Was there how resistant, or have you just tried to make an organization that's willing to change? How do you feel that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a constant battle,
Mhm.
right? Like, and in some ways, the bigger we get, maybe the more challenging it is to make major change,
Yeah.
right? Luckily, we've held pretty true to our core values all along, so we don't feel like we're like way off where we need to swing the ship way around or anything. But even and I would also say that if we look back, right, we have people that have worked for us for a few years and then they go to dental school, for instance, and they'll
Yeah.
come home in the summer and they'll say, oh, wow, all this stuff has changed, right? And we don't recognize it so much day to day because we're, week by week, there's little changes taking place. But it's easier to see in those big chunks. But I would say organizationally, we're driven to change for the better.
Yeah.
And I will say one of the things we've done lately in the last few years is we test a lot of stuff. So we will set up one of the offices and say, we're going to try this software or this, like, a new version of texting patients. We're going to try this, AI phone answering at this office. We're going to try this, whatever. And we'll try this new x-ray system over here. And we've done a bunch of tests that way, which is a little bit of it's a big advantage for us, right? We
Right.
can test 3 different things at 3 different offices and be like, oh, that's the best one. Let's go with that. And
That's a great strategy, right? At the end of the day, because anything you try to do with everything, that becomes overwhelming.
yeah,
Right.
Love
right.
that.
and we've let the winners run, right? So we see that's a winner. We're like, boom, let's invest, all of us. We're all switching over. But we have the evidence at that point, which gets the team buy-in
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Then you have half of those people, they can go talk to that team and they're selling the idea, and there's some value certainly there. And we don't have to like overthink. There's somewhere Jim Collins talks about shoot bullets, not cannonballs, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, we shoot a bunch of bullets and then we follow up the winner with a cannonball where everyone switches to that. And we have a lot of success that way over, I would say last 5-10 years, as we've had some scale, we've been able to do things like that.
Without going and opening up a can of worms, how do you feel like you're keeping up on technology and how important that's going to be in the future to dentistry?
Honestly, I think we've done a pretty good job because I think personally we find it kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right. I just from that's so cool that I can do that. So last year, this year we launched, I think maybe 8 different AI/tech
Yeah.
projects. Again,
Yeah.
having multiple locations is very helpful because we had x-rays in one, this insurance verification software in another, the phone agent in another. And also you can then give people at each office a little project. Hey, you're in charge of this. Let us know how that's going. So you don't have to exhaust every ounce of your being managing all these projects. That's how we've done it. And again, we had 2 dueling sort of softwares, one won out over the other, even though one took a little longer to develop. And so even x-ray stuff, it's been very helpful. And I think the future of dentistry with AI is super exciting. I think there's so many things we can do that I always tell the team, this is actually going to benefit the patient.
Yeah.
Getting accurate insurance estimates, getting great x-rays, getting all the stuff done faster, better. It's going to be for the patient. So I think from the team perspective, they like also being part of an office that's kind of like, ooh, we're doing this and ooh, we're doing that.
Yeah.
So that's been very helpful.
Do you think that I noticed that people are going a little berserk? Like, they want to, instead of using the AI agent to answer the rollover calls or the after calls, they want the thing to answer every call. It's like, oh no. Do you see that? Like where people are just,
Yes. So correct. It should be an additive. We always say it should be an additive, not necessary to replace.
But we're in a people business, right? So don't you think it's how you bring in technology, but you maintain that? I went to the dentist this morning before the appointment, and listen, they're just lovely people, right? I don't know if they really like me, but man, they make me feel liked every time. Mary, I said I was on time for my appointment, and I asked if I could have a star, and a little while later, someone gave me a star. I don't have it on still, and I wore it in the office because I'm usually late.
Well,
I launched a new program for them, the On-Time Star program. Okay, so any just sort of closing thoughts? Obviously we are in the coaching business, right? And my goal is to help people build it, ideally scale it, and then engineer an exit when the time is right? It's funny, I've been trying to get my team to realize like we've successfully made so many exits, and that we've got to embrace that, right? And not like help people gracefully get out, like finish the job, you know what I mean? And that's a challenge in our organization. That dog, I feel like I saw that dog when it was a puppy. How old?
Yeah. He was a COVID puppy. So
okay.
So about 6. Yeah.
He's still pretty young, right? Who does he favor?
I think Mary.
Yeah. The person who's, didn't want a dog, Jay. I know.
The least affectionate one to the
least
dog.
affectionate person. He loves me.
I love it. I love it. Do you think any of the kids are going to become dentists, or is it too early?
Well, 2 are decidedly not.
So the girls?
Say that.
The
And the third maybe. But also, I as a parent, I've been like, do your own thing, if this is something you'd like to enjoy doing or coming in and working some aspect of the business, and you don't have to be dentist.
It's too early, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any thoughts just in closing about, people's how important just getting coached is? Because that's the piece we haven't talked a lot about, but what do you think? And by the way, I have some great relationships with, sometimes your associates leave you guys and then they end up being my clients. I don't know until they rise up to 5X, and then all of a sudden, then they tell me, right? And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
But it's so
Actually,
great, and I love that they have a great relationship with you, right? So
that's funny you said because Michelle was in Canada
yeah.
and I got a text from this couple that used to work with us, and they were like, "Look who's here!"
Oh
And
wow.
I'm like, "Oh my god," So that has been fun. I guess in closing, I mean,
I have some
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah,
Yeah.
two things. I think one, enjoy the journey that you're on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big part of it. And I think though it seems like, oh, we still have day-to-day issues, we got to go in today, fix this, fix that. But enjoy the journey that you're on. And number two, I think what's great about coaching is one, whatever problem you have, somebody else in your coaching group
Mm,
probably has that problem.
yeah.
So, A, you can sort of problem solve together, right? You're not alone. I think sometimes when you're in this, you're a leader, you're owner of a business, you feel so lonely, like this, no one can solve this. And yet you
Mhm.
go to coaching, one, you're learning some content, but two, you're with a group of peers who are sort of facing the same issues that you are. So just being part of this group, I mean, we've developed great friendships
Oh yeah.
and also great collaborative methods. Like, I know I can call someone from the coaching group
Sure.
and be like, "Hey, what's going on here? Have you guys heard about this?" And there's so much give and take. So yes, part of the coaching is the actual content, but really the peer-to-peer interaction is
Yeah.
also as valuable because you're meeting like-minded people with very similar issues.
I push it a little bit, right, from time to time, and I've always tried to coach the whole person. In hindsight, what do you know what I'm saying? Like, I would take the subject off of dentistry and the business, and I would talk about relationships or kids or health. Kind of now in hindsight, do you think that was a good decision? And do you think that the whole person is really what some of these people are missing? They think it's all dentistry.
As you say that, I totally agree. But I would say for us anyway, at least, the business of stuff, right? That pays the bills, that gets us there. But the reality is, as many of those things that we've been successful with,
Mhm.
there's the personal side of life that we've been successful with too, right? So it's whether it's the marriage, right, honey,
Mhm.
or
Yeah, it's
or
a
the
true
kid.
balance.
Right. It's the marriage, it's the kids, it's the business, it's the vacation, it's this team,
Freedom.
it's everything. It's not like one thing, right? And I think part of, you go back to the competitive nature, right? Competitive nature of going to a place where there's coaching and there's other people. I want to like come back and say I did something a little bit and like
Yeah.
I'm pseudo competing that way. I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm like showing numbers and comparing that way, but I do feel like you feel better about yourself when you've done something versus haven't. I remember going to meetings and feeling like I haven't done anything in the last since we met prior. I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
Like whether it's because it's a rhythm or how I do it, that I just am better. I know there's going to be some progress quarter to quarter with us, just the way we operate. So and sometimes it's progress backwards that we need to like pivot and change and move forward. But it's not. I never feel like I used to feel like I had all these ideas and I never did anything. Now I don't feel that way. It took me 20 years to figure that out, but
So every
uh,
meeting that Bob would come to, like if we'd have a private day or something, what I loved is he always had the scorecard, right? And so you do keep score.
oh yeah,
So it was like if if that score goes up by however many zeros, right? That is still an important part of the process, I think, from a return on investment perspective, I think. Do you have the most freedom you've ever had today?
yeah,
Yes.
It's
yeah.
crazy to think that, isn't it? That you have the most people, the most offices, the most operatories, and you have the most freedom that you probably ever had in your life.
Yeah.
Just want everybody, I think everyone listening, doesn't know that that's one of the prizes at the end of the rainbow. Well, listen, thank you so much. Any closing things you guys want to share? I know we're going a little
I,
over, but
I want to say an appreciation for the 20 years and the the attention you've put into us and the ability of us to have a great relationship over that time and I don't know, and just sticking with us with that and the way we do things and being mindful and positive. And also like between the two of us, you've always been good about like giving credit to both of us, not just one of us.
I
And
have to make you feel good, Bob.
I know that's
I
Jay,
mean,
we got to do what we got to do here with Bob's fragile ego, you know?
I mean, we got to feed your competitive spirit. For those, I gave Mary a nickname, and that was Wings, because I always thought she was so supportive, and it was a heartfelt nickname. It wasn't like I was making any fun of you. I thought it was great. So it's been fun to watch you guys support each other, right?
Yes.
How's and you guys are now empty nesters?
About to be. Clock's ticking.
Okay, yeah, we got 6 months. Okay, good.
The one thing I will say is of course, you've been so helpful with the business part of it.
Yeah.
But I think equally a lot of for me, and I think Bob will agree, a lot of the other takeaways have not been, they have nothing to do with business.
Yeah.
They have to do with parenting and not lifestyle, but lifestyle, right? I mean, you talked a lot about etched memories, and that's something that we did. You talked about special trips. That's something that we did. You talked about being intentional with your calendar. That's something that we did through coaching.
I love that.
And so I don't know that we would have done those things without having watched you do those things with your children and you talking about those things.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not like you don't go to one course and learn that. When you do something repeatedly, the reminders of those things come up.
Right.
Right. Like when you say, I just took my daughter here for the special trip, and then you're like, oh shoot, we got to schedule a special trip. So I will say, even for our kids, they do still remember all those special trips that we did, and those etched memories, which is something that you taught like year one and you kept bringing up time and time again. So I think
I love that.
there's no quick, like, hey, I'm in for 2 years of coaching and I'm out and it's going to be great. That's the benefit of coaching. I would say it's like the Bible. It's not like there's nothing new and exciting about the Bible, but yet you go every week, you go just learn those lessons over and over till it becomes ingrained in your head, the things that you are to focus on, both business and then kind of at home.
And I think as you sit here today, but it's like you've been able to design a life with no regrets, right? I mean, the truth is that I don't think there's any regrets.
No.
Is there?
No.
Like, I mean, it's funny when people ask me, I'm like, no, when you design your life, not a regrettable existence, right? And that's what I've had so much fun watching you guys do, is that, there's so much generosity and so much that goes into other people. But, I think to be able to say, hey, I mean, I genuinely don't think you guys have any regrets. Do you?
No.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for sharing. It's a lot of fun.
our pleasure.
Likewise.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one.